Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at expanding brackets. So we have here y equals x plus 4 times x plus 6. Now there's many different methods to expand brackets, and the way I'm going to show you today is the way that I prefer because it does help out all the way through your math career, all the way from the beginning when you're just doing basic multiplication, all the way through to senior and even university classes. So the first thing we'll do is just set up a grid, and it doesn't have to be a big grid. This is just a very small multiplication table. So in the top here we have x and 4. Those are the values from our first set of brackets. Down the side we have x and 6. Inside here we're going to multiply each of these values piece by piece. Inside each of these 4 blue boxes we're going to take the numbers on the outside and multiply them together. So this first box on the left hand side here will be the combination of x and x. X times x is x squared. The next one up is the combination or the multiplication, the product of x and 4. 4 times x is 4x. Next up is the product of x and 6, which gives us 6x. And lastly, 4 times 6 is 24. Now there's a few different little patterns we could see here as long as we set things up properly. And by setting things up properly, I mean setting up these numbers on the outside. When you're writing out the numbers on the outside, it's important to make sure that the highest power of x goes right here, and then we continue in reducing powers of x downwards. Same with the top. The highest power needs to be in the leftmost position, and then we go reducing powers of x across. Another thing we can notice is if we multiply these diagonals together, we get 24x squared. And if we multiply these together, we also get 24x squared. So those two will always be equal for a quadratic. It's a little bit harder to spot with cubics and higher powers, but they are there. We just have to do a little bit more exploration. One last thing we can spot, which is one of the most important things, is on this diagonal, we have the same terms. So these are both x's, whereas the top left is x squared and the bottom right is the constant. So it's important that we set this up properly so that we do get these terms on the diagonal. Expanding these brackets out, we end up with y equals, that's just the same as before, and then we're going to add these numbers together. We start with the highest power, which is x squared, then we go to the next power down, which is x, and again we saw those on the diagonal, so adding those together we get 10x. And then lastly is our constant on the end, which is 24, and that is our quadratic. Now let's take a look at a higher power just to see what happens and the differences. Let's go with, I don't know, a random one, 3x to the power of 3. Add to that 4x squared, 7x minus 6, x plus 2. Something like that. We'll set up the grid pretty much exactly the same as last time. However, we're just going to make it a bit wider on the horizontal because we've got more terms to fill in. This first section here will go in the top of our grid. 3x cubed, 4x squared, 7x, and this is negative 6. On the side we have x and 2. Let's fill in all of the gaps just like we did before. And now we're multiplying piece by piece just like we did last time. So on the top left we have 3x cubed multiplied by x. That is 3x to the power 4. Going across we have 4x squared times x is 4x cubed, 7x squared, negative 6x. On the bottom we have negative 12. For some reason it doesn't matter which order you do it in, but for some reason I like to go in this little spiral thing, and I don't know why. Just play with it and have some fun. Just like last time, we can see that on the diagonals here we have all of the same term because we set up our grid correctly. Now we can add everything together and we end up with y equals 3x to the power 4, that's our highest term, and then the next term is the x. Looks like I've done something wrong here. Yes, There's our x cubed there. On this diagonal we have 10x cubed. Just going to push this off to the side a little bit. Next up we have the squared diagonals, 15 of them, 15x squareds. Next up is the x's, 14 take away 6 is 8. And then on the end we have a minus 12, and that is our final equation.